Yep.
COVID crisis related question.
Go ahead.
Because the attacks in the Asian American community continue to rise. There were some videos that went viral because elderly Asian Americans were really attacked in a way that is difficult to watch. And I wonder, other than the presidential memorandum, is President Biden going to take any further actions to address this problem?
He is concerned about discrimination against
we're
Asian American communities.
gonna get through this. I grew up enjoying to perform in front of people. I've always wanted to just make people laugh. I work in the laboratory. I'm a medical technician, so I actually test all the samples, that come in for COVID-19. We are the ones that work behind the scenes that are doing the testing, and we seldom will get a personal thank you from somebody, because we did their COVID-19 test. Simply the signs and notes and letters are usually, directed towards the doctors or the nurses, people that have direct patient contact. It's a feeling of a lot of technicians that, we're the ones that are forgotten about behind the scenes, but yet we do this to help patients, help people. You have to feel good about yourself, knowing that you're helping these patients, regardless if they know that you're helping them or not. So, people just quitting because they were in a different department, and then they were deployed to help nurses. And, those people said, well, I didn't go to school to be a nurse, so I'm just going to quit. And they quit because they weren't asked to volunteer. They just simply were told to go. And they said, we don't have hours for you in your department because we're on government lockdown. We're going to close that department, but you can work in the COVID unit. And, these people, they didn't sign on for that.
You didn't refuse that, right?
I didn't refuse that because honestly, I've been in, what I'm doing in the lab is something that I've been doing for 20 years. I'm not afraid of that. I am cautious. I use precautions, and I've done that sort of thing for 20 years. I said if I was really that afraid of something, I said I wouldn't be able to do my job for 20 years. I said I wouldn't even be able to work in the lab because we're constantly exposed to bacteria, virus. Assisting in the ICU, and helping the nurses take care of these COVID patients, and a lot of them were end stage, and and I've witnessed people just sitting outside of the room of their loved ones, staring at them in the glass, and just waiting for them to pass away. I mean, it's disheartening, and you see them, they're just such a feeling of helplessness, and you can't even try to comfort the people outside of the room because of what's going on. It's just awful. Chinese American people, they like to stay with other Chinese American people, and it's saddening for me to feel that you have to stay under the radar. Don't complain about anything, don't say anything. And if you were raised by traditional parents, they tell you not to say anything. And I myself, you lose your individuality because you're kind of taught to just conform to society and just don't make any noise, don't say anything, and if something happens, so what? It could be much worse, all the time there. Most Chinese Americans just try to, put their heads down and just do your work and don't complain and study hard and be diligent and just do what you have to do to make sure that nobody bothers you. Don't let society bother you, I guess. That's it's tough because I have a lot of friends, that are, and I mentioned this before, they consider me white, so they feel like it's okay to, say anything like, oh, this Kung Flu and this, and, the Wuhan virus and this China flu and this all your Chinese people's fault, and I have to laugh it off because these are my friends, because I know that they're not really saying it in a mean, mean way, but when I hear it, I can't help but feel like, geez, like, how could you say that this is the fault of all Chinese people? I was born in America, but, again, people automatically just associate you with bad things, and I don't hate these people, and it's like comedian Dave Chappelle said once, I don't hate these people, I hate the way it makes me feel. I don't want to feel that way, and I don't want to feel that way when I hear somebody say Kung Flu or China flu, this is all your fault. And it's still, I still feel like, ugh. So it's hard to try to say anything. And so, a lot of the times I take my parents' standpoint. I just don't say anything at all. Kids in his school that were Asian or of Asian, descent were picked on or something happened to them. That's hard to see, when you see young kids being whatever wrongdoings that are happening to the young kids, for no reason. And I totally get that. I said that was me. I said, I'm still, going through that today as a grown man. I still, every now and again I'm thinking, oh, it's not so bad. And then something happens where, really, still don't fit in. Even though you've been trying 50 years to fit in, you still don't. A Asian person likened themselves to a pebble. I feel that, most Chinese American people, I could say, are very, to themselves. They like to be very private, so they're very humble individuals. So as far as liking yourself to a pebble, I mean, it to me, that's a pebble on the ground. It's there, but you don't really think anything of it because it doesn't bother you. It's just kind of there. But a pebble also, if there were 1,000 pebbles on the ground, then of course you recognize it. You realize these 1,000 pebbles are on the ground because they're holding you up. So, that's it's a different story when there's only one pebble. You may feel like a pebble, but when there's thousands of you're thousands of pebbles there, those pebbles are supporting the ground. Those pebbles are strong enough to hold whatever they're walking on. This is going to be our first Thanksgiving away from everybody because of the pandemic. And it's also going to be the first Thanksgiving that my father's not going to be here. He passed away this year. So as a lover of food, which I am, my fondest Thanksgiving memories, I used to go to a bunch of different houses for Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is not really a Chinese holiday per se. Anyway, for me as a young man growing up, I had, a circle of friends that they would actually invite me to their Thanksgiving dinners, and I could never turn down any because I was always felt that it was such an incredible privilege for someone to invite you to, share food with someone. To me, that's like an extremely, like an honor. So I would never say no to anybody. And I got to eat at not only my parents' house, which we never had a really big deal about it, but I got to, eat at several other houses, and I got to actually sample different types of foods, and I was so appreciative. And I ate every single place, which is probably why, I have this body now. So it's such a great compliment to you as a person for say something, like, hey, we enjoy your company that much, or we think that highly of you that, we would like to eat supper with you, and I don't know if other people saw it the same way, but wow, this is, such kindness to me, and it's hard for me to describe in words, what that felt like to me, but. Always wanted to just make people laugh or make people, change their views.
But it is a scary one. Many bad things happening. If you just look around you, there are many things that need to be addressed. So, wake up! Wake up! Wake up! Wake up!
Need to perform or enjoyment of performing. I grew up, even though not comfortable at all in front of large crowds, but once I would get there to a venue or somewhere, or get there in that crowd, once I was there, I would be like adjusted, I'd be fine.
He played and had fun with his friends. But then one night at the soccer banquet, everybody received the trophy.
December 2020, we will find a way to endure. So Happy New Year, everybody.
It is not right. Why too must he have this injustice? People starving all around. Last night in Michigan, that lady won her prize. Not enough prize, so wake up.
I spent my whole life trying to fit in, to be looked at as American, as they say. And this, with everything that happened since COVID, this is the first time where I thought, I really should embrace my ethnicity now. Just really just to see, so much hatred and violence going on against Asians. And you thought, that's, I am regretting that I suppressed my ethnicity, suppressed who I was, because I just did not want to cause trouble or get in trouble with, the other people around me that didn't like me being different. So I said, I regret not learning more about my own culture. It's a culture that really you should be proud of, and it was not something that I was never told to be proud of. And realizing that I need to embrace my ethnicity rather than discard it.
Hey, welcome.
Hello.
There he is.
Hello.
Right. Dude.
Hello again. Did I step on your foot?
Natural.
Oh, no, I didn't. Okay, then. I get teary at the end of this, that's why. The last verse is about dying and stuff, and I'm like, this is a little emotional at the end. Looking for reasons to give in to fate, and time keeps receding into it's too late. So I followed my freedom and I fly off the track, 'cause it's worth getting lost just to finally find your way back. I'm not here to grumble, I'm not here to sigh, I stand and I stumble, I live and I die, and each time I tumble, the one truth I found, oh, you can't know the ups if you never fall down. Oh, you can't know the ups if you never fall down. When I go in to play somewhere and, you know, they see this guy walk in and they come up to me and say, you know what? I came in here thinking, that Chinese guy ain't gonna be no good. You know, oh, this is terrible. Why did we come here? But, you know, once they hear us play and they start enjoying themselves, they say, oh, you know, hey, that guy was pretty good. You know, he did all right. So maybe I changed the minds of some people, and you know, that was the big thing. Like my entire life was, you know, just to try to find a place to fit in, just to have other people accept you. Just, you know, not because of, you know, how you look, but because of your actions. And that's, you know, that's how it's been. That's how it should be with anybody. Too fast to contain, and though it hurts to see you crying, my beautiful friend, it'd be worth all the tears just to hear you laughing again. I'm not here to grumble, I'm not here to sigh, standing I stumble, I lived and I died, and each time I tumble, the one truth I found, no, you can't know the ups if you never fall down. No, you can't know the ups if you never fall down. No, you can't know the ups if you never fall down.